Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of New Age to New Life podcast. So on this episode, I really want to touch on what the New Age movement is. I know a lot of people are not really aware that there even is a New Age movement, that it's referred to as the New Age movement. People who are in the New Age movement have no idea that us as believers even refer to them as this. So I really want to elaborate on what this umbrella term is, essentially. And so, for us as believers, we refer to people who are in this movement of, going through essentially really what it is and what we know it to be is witchcraft, right? Anything that falls under the sun of that. But we call them New Agers and the New Age movement. Now, for people who are in it, right, they refer to themselves as someone who's going through a spiritual awakening, and you'll hear that term a lot for them. It's very popular now. I feel like it's becoming mainstream. It's becoming normalized, right? Like, oh, I'm going through a spiritual awakening, or I'm spiritual but not religious. That's a big one that you'll hear. And a lot of these modalities that people are using are things that are not of God. And that's why I want to touch on this. So, people who are in this, or believers, or whoever it may be, would not fall into this deception. And going into that umbrella term, right? Now, it's everything that has to do with astrology, reaching out to psychics or mediums, getting your cards read by a tarot card reader, even as simple as mindful meditation, guys. I think that's a big one. That was my ticket into the New Age movement, was learning mindful meditation. Yoga, a lot of people, say that it's just a physical practice and it has nothing to do with spirituality, but yoga definitely takes a big part in spirituality. Anything that has to do with astral projection, or opening up your Akashic records, Reiki healing, shamanic healing, moon worship. You'll hear a lot of people having moon ceremonies, or going into ceremony when it's the summer solstice or the winter solstice, or even as simple as cacao, which is chocolate powder. People take this cacao, ceremonial grade cacao, and have ceremonies with it, and it's used into a healing modality, into witchcraft, to open up your heart. And there's so much that goes into it, right? And I want to touch on it because it can so easily creep into your life that you don't even realize it. Something as simple as crystals. I think a lot of people misunderstand that crystals are a part of this movement. Now, given crystals are beautiful, they were created by God, right? That's how they find them. They're in the earth. That's how they're even found. But there's something about it when, a spiritualist grabs a hold of these crystals, right, and prays over them and uses them because they think they have powers. Now, that is worshiping the creation and not the creator. And we can see many times in the Bible where that has led people astray, and God tells us not to do any sort of idol worship. And so all of these things are idol worship, essentially. But, the way that it gets people hooked and captivated by this is, there's a lot of people that are seeking truth. That's what they are. They're truth seekers. They're trying to understand what's beyond this world, what's beyond this realm. There has to be something more. And they really are seeking truth, but they're not seeking it through Jesus. And the enemy is aware of that. And he goes in for the kill, essentially, is what happens. And a lot of people fall for this false ideology of, whoa, like, I am human right now, yes, but this human experience is temporary, which we all know. We all know we're going to pass away at some point, right? But they believe that they are a human living a temporary experience, but not because God gave them that opportunity to do so, right? They believe that they themselves chose to do it. So they believe that they signed a contract outside of this earth, their spirit, right? Just their spirit, not this human bodysuit, signed a contract to be on Earth at this very specific time. Reason being is because they believe that they're ushering in a new Earth. And so what this new Earth is built of, it's raising your consciousness, finding your higher self, raising the vibrations of the planet. So really what they think is like there's almost like an audience outside of the Earth watching Earth and watching how desperately the Earth needs saving. Like it's going, nowhere. It's decaying in a sense, with how the climate system is going, all the homelessness, all the drug addiction, all this craziness, right? And so they believe that Earth needs help. So there's very strong leaders, so to speak, outside of the Earth that decided to come in at this very time to help save Earth so that it won't decay ultimately. So they believe that with, all of this energy healing that they're doing, again, crystals, meditation, yoga, raising their own vibration will then raise the vibration of others around them, will then raise the vibration of the collective consciousness as a whole. So they believe that the Earth is currently, in a 3D state. I don't know if now they're saying that it's in a 4D, but when I left the New Age movement, it was still in a 3D, shifting into a 5D, which is third dimensional, into a fifth dimensional, meaning it's just a higher vibration. And it's just everybody's more woke. It falls in line with the woke agenda. That's why New Agers are so strongly, for the Democratic Party, not to get too political at all, but it all ties hand in hand. And that's why they themselves are woke, and they understand woke as being a good term because they're spiritually awakened at that point. And it's just really moving towards building this utopian society is what New Earth is to them, right? So they believe that everything that they're doing with finding their higher self, they're the pioneers in it. They believe that only a few people know, which is where this whole esoteric term comes in, where it's like only a few people know this knowledge, right? This very secret knowledge, which then it's just so crazy because as you start going more and more, once you're revealed to the truth, you understand where all of these teachings come from. And it's like all of these esoteric teachings, which is crazy, but falls in line with like Freemasonry, and like you don't think about these things, but it really is. This is where all of this stuff comes from. And yeah, so they believe that there, there's only a very few amount of people who know about this, and they're the pioneers in it. They're, ushering in this movement because they're the very first ones to come to their spiritual senses and awaken. And they believe that with everything that they're doing wholeheartedly, and it's not to talk down on anyone because I get it. I was in that New Age deception, right? Wholeheartedly, they believe that they're doing it for God, that they're doing it for God's glory, that all of this is good. But there is a huge deception behind it, and I think it really gets people caught up and wrapped up in the wrong things. It really encourages people to just lose their whole identity, like who God created them to be. It's like, no, you need to let go of that idea, and that's not you. So the whole ego death, right? They believe that your ego is, you need to die to it because that's not who you are. You're a spiritual being. So let go of everything that comes with being a human, right? Like let go of having a normal job, like let go of, having to be such a big part of your family, and focus on achieving your higher self. And so a lot of people really lose themselves in this, and I can definitely attest to that because I would, be at home and I would just be in my room all day because I was meditating and doing yoga and pulling tarot cards and, just learning on all of these teachings and astral projecting and just trying to reach my higher self. That it was like, oh, well, somebody's trying to get in the way of that, then they're trying to stop you. So you need to separate yourself from them. And a lot of people you will see, it's like, man, they almost kind of look like crazy or scary in a way. And I don't mean that in any mean way at all whatsoever, but it's just they don't even look like themselves anymore because of how far they've let go of who they truly are to reach this, enlightened spiritual being. And so there's a lot of ideologies that go behind it, but the main one is you need to heal yourself. You need to go through this journey. They call it a dark night of the soul, right? You need to go through this journey of healing through. Like, you don't get to avoid the anxiety. You don't get to avoid the depression. You don't get to avoid all of those things. You have to go through it to the other side. And it's like they're always on this journey, but they never get to the destination in a sense, right? Maybe they feel like the destination will be like once they pass away. A big thing is they believe in reincarnation. It's like, oh, I've lived many lifetimes on many different realms, right? A lot of people think that they're actual stars, like star seeds that have came onto Earth and now have taken a physical form of a human. And so they believe that there's like a lot of other realms. Like, for example, they believe that they may have came from the Pleiades and they're an actual alien, like a Palladian alien in the human form right now, which is, you know, a whole nother topic within itself, which I won't even get into. But, you know, there's a lot of people who believe that. And, you know, because of that, they believe that there is this reincarnation. So they're not too worried about their lives here on Earth right now, because they're like, well, if I don't get it this time around, I'll just come back to Earth later. I'll go live out another life in another realm my next time and then see how Earth is doing. Whatever the case, right? But the Bible tells us specifically, we get one shot at this, guys. We got one shot to live this life and to get right with God and to repent from our ways and to live in eternity with Him. You know, the Bible does not say that there's anything to do with reincarnation. This is an ideology that was given to us by Satan himself, that you get many shots at this life and you get one shot. And I think that's one thing that is really what makes the New Agers so okay with what they're doing, because they believe that, you know, if I don't get it all together now, I'll have another shot at this. But there's only one shot at this, right? And so everything that has to do under that umbrella, and you'd be surprised, right? Even something like saging your house. I know they say it's like, oh, it's like a native practice or wherever it originated from. It's not something spiritual, but it is witchcraft, where you're putting your full trust into this plant that it's going to clear out any dark spirits. Only the Holy Spirit can clear out any dark spirits. Like, there's many dark spirits, but there's only one Holy Spirit, right? So any spirits that you have into your house that you're coming into agreement that a plant will get rid of them for you, that's an open door to the enemy to come into your house. So when you think you're staging and cleansing, you're actually putting up a welcome sign for all the demons to come into your house. So with that, I just wanted to bring some knowledge into what all of this is and why are people so intrigued by it and so easily deceived by it. You know, mindful meditation will take you from, okay, I need to empty my mind, but now I want to stick a little bit more, right? And now it's like, oh, now I want to do yoga. And it's like, oh, it's just a spiritual practice. It's just a physical practice. But yoga is a form of worship to worship Hindu gods. So now you're coming into agreement with all of the Hindu gods and everything that they stand for, right? But now you're seeking a little bit more. Now you're like, oh, let me get some spiritual protection. So let me get some crystals. And so from there, you're like, oh, but now I'm seeking even more things of the supernatural. So let me go get my cards read because I want to find out what's in my future for me. And you'll hear a lot of these terms like Reiki, astral projection, hypnosis, breathwork, but I encourage you to be very careful and very mindful because the Bible specifically speaks against these things, to not partake in them because it is an abomination to God and they will defile you. So if you or anyone that you know is in the New Age movement, I want to encourage you guys to seek God, seek Jesus, seek actual truth, because He will give you the truth. And everything that you're doing that is part of the New Age movement will lead you astray and will lead you far from God. And, you know, as we know, as believers, yes, they're believing for a new earth and that this earth is going to be transformed into something beautiful. But we know that Jesus is coming soon and He is going to rapture us and take us with Him, right? So we don't want to be left on this earth. We don't want to create this earth into a utopian society. We want to get right with God so that when he comes back, we get to spend eternity with him in heaven. And so I know that there's also, all truths lead to heaven, right? All truths lead to a better place outside of this earth, so to speak. But there is only one way that leads to heaven, and that's the narrow path with Jesus. So I know given in spiritual, the spiritual awakening path, they say, whatever truth is your truth, then that's fine. Your truth may not be my truth, but both of our truths lead to heaven. And that couldn't be further from the truth. There is only one, and that is Jesus. So I want to encourage you guys, if you guys are going down this path, just ask for more truth, because God will reveal that he is the only way to heaven. So again, anything that has to do with New Age, I'm open to any questions that you guys may have. I'm definitely going to be covering more topics on this and dive deeper into that. But this is just to help you guys get an understanding of what the umbrella term of the New Age movement is. So I hope this brought some sort of clarity to any questions that you have. And, drop in the comments of anything else that you may want to hear and you may want me to dive deeper on. And I would be more than happy to elaborate on future episodes. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.